Ladies and gentlemen, signing off on this stage, Kate and Bear. And Jonas there, make some noise one time, if you please. Appreciate it, appreciate it. Maintaining the situation at hand and promoting that funky trance energy. Ladies and gentlemen, at Luminosity, please welcome Thrill Seekers! Ladies and gentlemen, signing off on this stage, Kate and Bear. And Jonas there, make some noise one time, if you please. Appreciate it, appreciate it. Maintaining the situation at hand and promoting that funky trance energy. Ladies and gentlemen, at Luminosity, please welcome Thrill Seekers!
edge of you too far. I see that, but I can't find my peace. And I'm faking if I thought it would make it easier to breathe. Tell you, baby, all my dreams come true when I'm laying next to you. Is that so wrong? I tell you, baby, all my dreams come true. Wanna be the way you are, so I hold on, dreaming of you.
We the people. That is, of course, how the Constitution of the longest standing democratic republic in the world begins. But in the turmoil of the last few years in the United States, author Tom Nichols argues in his new book that the people are currently part of the problem. The book is called Our Own Worst Enemy: The Assault from Within on Modern Democracy. He's a columnist for USA Today, a professor at the U.S. Naval War College, and Tom Nichols joins us now from Middletown, Rhode Island, for more. Tom, it's good to have you on the program again. How you doing?
Good, Steve. Good to see you again.
Pleasure to have you on. Now, we had you on in 2017 to discuss your last book, The Death of Expertise, about the growing distrust of experts in too many parts of your country. Did writing that book inevitably lead to this one?
I wouldn't say inevitably, but it was sort of haunting me in the background, because the problem that I talk about in this book is to some extent the same problem that was sort of lurking underneath the book about knowledge and experts and why people won't listen to them. And in fact, I even mentioned in the previous book that I thought perhaps a pandemic might snap people out of it, and it didn't. And that problem is narcissism, that we have become an affluent, we in the developed world, in the United States especially, but in other countries as well, we've become an affluent, narcissistic, self-centered society, and you can't sustain a democracy on narcissism and self-centeredness.
Before we dive into that thesis more, I did want to ask you about the tone of this book compared to the last one. It seemed to me in the last book that your tone was more one of, well, more that you were saddened. You were saddened about the fact that America, so much of America, doesn't appreciate the value of expertise. But in this book, you seem, if I may say, Tom, you seem downright angry and are much more furious about America's descent into stupidity, or a lot of its anyway. Have I got that right?
Angry, and it's also, there's a certain amount of, I think, pain in the book, because it's autobiographical in places. I talk about my own upbringing and growing up in a factory town in Massachusetts. And it's a combination of anger and frustration and exasperation and a painful realization that this democracy that has lasted over 2 centuries is being endangered, not by foreign enemies, not by a Great Depression, not by a cataclysm or a natural disaster, but simply by stubbornness and childishness and a kind of resentful sense that, no one is the boss of you, which then bleeds into really, uncivic
it's the Steelers aren't doing great. I'm not the biggest Steelers fan, but they're not doing great. Yeah, the surveillance is the other one. Okay, you're right. Sorry, they're like the same yo-yo in my head, but yes, I've played that one too. But those are expensive. I don't know. Those are like those yo-yos. The yo-yos that sell out like that cost a lot. I'm never like real big on like going and reviewing the crap out of them. It's like really hard to. It's really hard to like for that, even like those don't even get views really. It's like I really like G squared yo-yos too. Yeah, right. I really like G squared. I really like Jake too. Like as a human, Jake and I are friends. We've hung out many occasions. It's been a little while. He had more kids, and then there was a pandemic, and he moved. And anyway, but Jake's really cool. I miss Jake. I want to hang out with Jake. I texted him the other day actually. But it's same thing with like G2s. Like if I buy them for me, because like even if I do a review of it, it gets like 200 views or something like that. But like by the time I even get it reviewed and edited, it's been sold out for 2 days. So like it's been sold out since before it was in my hands. So it's those are tough to review because it's like, here's this yo-yo that you can't get right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that G2s are overpriced necessarily because Jake really does. He's a one-man show over there, and he's really doing all the work. Oh, that's the worst. 2018 Banshee is still my favorite one. I have one. It's just so good. I don't have the AL7 Reaper. I have the regular one, and it's in a fun green. It's really good. Really, really, really good. Shout out to Fat. YouTube and his TikTok and his Instagram. He's been working his ass off. He's married. He's got a couple kids. That is a cool. How it's a banger and it's a really nice half swap. I wish I moved all the cases out of here because I just didn't have room. When we started work from home full time, it was just like, all right, I need more desk. I need less stacked. Yes, Arkham and plus World Breaker. That was the way. It was like the World Breaker Hulk and the Arkham, and it just man, that swirl, it's so good. And yeah, I have that one, and it's my go-to. My go-to. It lives in a case and it's babied because it's so pretty. But it's still a good yo-yo. I really like that inner cup. That, I think, between that and the 2016 Banshee, I think those are the two that are like the most magical. Otherwise, like, he's got like the Reaper, I think, is really good. It's a very like straightforward everyday yo-yo that's like got a little bit of that G2 magic. But the Banshee and the Wolf have that something special. Yes, the 2018 is good too. I think the 2016 is a little, it's a little floatier. It's not quite a competition piece. It's a little bit it's deceptive. But man, is it good. Man, is it good. That was actually, the OG, the 2016 one. There's something about that. Like, so my first signature with Rain City, that was in my head as we were designing it too, was the 2016 Banshee, and especially the way the V works when you grind it, whereas just the curves off really just hang there. Yeah, me too. I love one drop stuff. There's still one I'm missing, actually. I have everything. Like, that's the thing with me with one drop, is I have everything. Magic Yo Hurts. I haven't played it, actually. I kind of not like, so I like Magic Yo-Yo a lot, and Winnie's very nice to me. She's been very gracious and very generous. But I haven't had anything from Magic Yo-Yo for a while. I think I bought something a little while ago. I can't remember what it was, but I did do. Yeah, they've been knocking them out. What am I missing one drop wise? Hold on, I'll tell you. Let me get it a site. I'll tell you what I'm missing. Yo-Yos. What came out? The Panorama. That's what I'm missing. Have everything else. Did not get the Panorama. In fact, I had lined up to and I'd been like, okay, I'm gonna get on and I'm gonna buy it. And I was like, I got sucked into a work meeting, right? They were like going up at 10 a.m. and I got sucked into a work meeting at 9:30. My work meeting was done at 10:15. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna buy it now. I'm going through this, and they're gone. They were gone. And I'm like, geez, man, like, how do I I can't win with this one because usually, I mean, I could reach out to Dave or Sean and be like, "Hey guys, can I get this?" And they'll either send it to me or they'll let me buy it or whatever. The lunar eclipse, that's what this one is. Lunar eclipse, that's what this is. This has been sweet. Shout outs to Coffin. I know he hasn't been around much either because now he's dad as well. But I do not have a nickel plated Burnside and or T1. What's my profession? My profession, I am a 401k compliance professional, I guess is the best way to say it. I'm more or less the guy. I write 401k documents and then I do the compliance testing. I make sure everything. I basically make sure that you don't get screwed on your 401k. I do that for about 500 plans. So it's pretty. It can be exhausting, but I'm pretty good at it, so I like it. It's a little boring to actually talk about like the day to day nitty gritty, but I like it. It's fun. Yeah, both were like, that's why I don't have one. Like, it was like, oh, I'll get it. Like, I just assumed that, like, I could show up 10 minutes in and they'd have one. And, like, I need to message Sean and David and be like, guys, I really need a panorama. Like, here's just take my money. And then when they're here, just send me one. But yeah, my recommending to purchase right now. My friend Danny Yu has a few of these. Let me Ladies and gentlemen, we have a yo-yo review to do today. This is the Titanium Banshee from G Squared Yo-Yos. So, Titanium Banshee. Did you guys know this existed? There's a couple testers, and this is one. Actually, this does belong to me. This has to go. Danny got this. Don't ask how. Danny has every titanium ever. I love that sound. Listen to that. Ping! And he somehow convinced Jake to sell him this after East Coast Masters. Jake wasn't even there. And so Danny paid money for this, and he said that I could review it, and Jake got Jake's blessing beforehand. So, thank you, Jake. Thank you, Danny. This is the Titanium Banshee. Titanium Banshee does a lot of things that the 2018 Banshee
Democrat-controlled Senate will hold a vote on another dead-on-arrival bill. This time, though, it isn't just a messaging bill designed to put on a show for their far left. This is legislation that is actually critical to the stability of our government, our economy, and the livelihood of millions of public servants. For months now, Republicans have made clear, though, we will not split the ticket when it comes to Democrats' reckless tax and spending spree. We will not vote to raise the debt limit just so Democrats can spend another $3.5 trillion and add that to the American people's credit card in a purely partisan exercise. If this was ever a secret, it was the worst kept secret in Washington, D.C. But our Democratic colleagues simply can't resist a chance to virtue signal, even if it wastes valuable floor time here in the Senate. We've seen this before. In fact, Democrats' designed to fail agenda practically dominated the Senate's calendar this summer. There was a bill to exploit the cause of gender pay fairness in order to line the pockets of trial lawyers. There was legislation to overhaul America's election system and hand Democrats a permanent governing majority. The latest version of this bill, which will also fail, will come up for a vote in a matter of days. Senator Schumer has even forecasted votes on other bills that were so unpopular, as it turned out, that they didn't even make it to the Senate floor. There was one that would have eroded Americans' Second Amendment rights, another that would punish schools and hospitals that refused to comply with woke social norms. Now, this isn't an agenda to better the lives of the American people or protect the country from global threats. It's pandering, pure and simple. While pandering to their radical base is the focus of the Democrat-led Senate, there are a number of threats this body should actually address. The most obvious is the need to prevent another government shutdown. And let's not forget the Biden border crisis on our southern border. For the entirety of President Biden's term of office, Democrats have refused to acknowledge any sort of problem at all with our southern border because apparently they don't actually believe in borders or apparently care little about the drugs smuggled into this country that took the lives of 90,000 Americans last year alone. Even as hundreds of thousands of migrants poured across our border every month, Democrats showed no concern or didn't even acknowledge that there was a problem. Then things came to a head. Finally, the news media began to pay attention on Del Rio. Within a matter of days, 30,000 migrants, nearly 30,000, primarily from Haiti, crossed the border and set up camp under an international bridge in Del Rio, Texas. Early statements indicated that the administration would make heavy use of Title 42, which is a public health title designed to protect the American people against the spread of COVID-19. Early statements indicated the administration would make use of that public health title and expedited removal to return these individuals to their home countries. It sounded like a pretty remarkably sensible strategy. But now that the migrant camp has been cleared, we know that is not what happened. Only about 2,000 migrants were returned to Haiti, a small percentage of the nearly 30,000 who crossed into Del Rio. Some 8,000 voluntarily returned to Mexico, but I expect many of those migrants and their families will make another attempt to re-enter the United States. Another 5,000 of that number are currently being processed by the Department of Homeland Security. In a television appearance this weekend, Secretary Mayorkas said 10 to 12,000 migrants, the ones that were huddled under the bridge in Del Rio, Texas, 10 to 12,000 migrants have been released into the United States, untested for COVID-19, unvaccinated, when in fact the Biden administration has said that the public health title 42 was going to be used to exclude them. Well, those numbers are likely to grow in coming days because, frankly, all the Biden administration was concerned about, apparently, was the bad optics of 30,000 migrants huddled under a border bridge in Del Rio, Texas. What the Biden administration did, as opposed to what they said they were going to do, is an open invitation for more migrants to illegally come to the United States. Individuals who are trying to decide whether to make the dangerous journey to our borders are reading the same headlines and watching the same TV news shows that we are. And many of them are simply calling their relatives in the United States saying, should I still come? And being given the green light because of the failure of the Biden administration to do anything to deter or dissuade or add costs to people illegally entering the United States. In so doing, the Biden administration is sending an unmistakable message to more migrants to come to the United States, because if you do, there's a good chance you'll be released into the American countryside and disappear into that great American heartland. Migrants will ignore what President Biden is saying because they know what his administration is doing, or in this case, not doing, which is not securing the borders. Unless something changes, the Haitian migration and the crisis in Del Rio that fixated the attention of the news media and all America, that unless something changes from a policy perspective, this is going to happen again. We already know that border crossings are at their highest levels in 20 years. Now the administration is apparently opening the door to even more illegal migration. And the smuggling organizations, the organized crime syndicates that profit from charging these migrants thousands of dollars to get them into the country, will continue to get rich because of the administration's unwillingness to enforce our immigration laws. Well, Congress has a duty to take action and address this crisis before it grows even more out of control. Democrats cannot ignore the responsibility to enforce our laws and secure our borders just because it upsets part of their political base. There's a lot of things we need to do in the Senate, and this parade of dead-on-arrival bills does nothing to move us in the right direction. Clearly, our Democratic colleagues are finding their newfound majority. They're finding a lot of trouble using this power to actually govern. They have a wide gulf between the so-called moderates of their party, what they can stomach, and what the progressive left wing demands. They're up against a government funding deadline in just the next few days that could risk a shutdown during what is already tough economic times for many Americans because of the pandemic. And they're trying to use a partisan budgetary process to pass trillions of dollars of more spending, more deficit spending, while also trying to get another $1 trillion infrastructure bill signed into law. To top things off, they fanned the flames of the crisis at our border, struggled to defend an indefensible, disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, and offended America's oldest ally. This is not what governing looks like. There's no spotlight on a party like there is when you hold all the cards, when you control the White House, the House, and the Senate. The American people know who's responsible for the status quo. When the majority party all but refuses to work with the minority party, that spotlight grows even brighter. I hope, but frankly I don't expect, that our Democrats will reevaluate the wisdom of this parade of failed bills and spend a little bit of time working with Republicans on legislation that can actually pass and make a positive difference for our country. Madam President, I yield the floor, and I would note the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin.
Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to get an ignorance. I think it was just overseas. But yeah, haven't seen. Yeah, Tapio Mojo is super good. Tapio does good stuff. They've sort of also been a little bit shelled by the pandemic, I think. Yeah, SF, man, they were on fire for a while. I would love it if they came back and put out some, even just restocked some stuff, right? I mean, I think they've maybe done that a little bit, but man, I just feel like they were just putting out banger after banger after banger. It was like Yo-Yo of the Year. Nope. And now it's this Yo. Now it's this SF. Nope. Now it's this SF. And it was just every one of them. But no, the plastic, I still think is my favorite one. I got it at Nationals 20. Must have been 2019. The one we had in that like weird marine museum. It's really good. It's still really good. I was actually playing it the other day. Because that's what I do now when I go to like if I don't have to coach, which I do have to coach for 3 teams. Who is the owner of SF? I don't know. Another unpopular yo-yo opinions. Oof. I might get a lot of heat for that, actually. I probably should, though. That's a good idea. Unpopular yo-yo opinions. My last one was pretty funny. I'd have to think about it. See, those are the ones I at least have to take notes. Am I still playing games like video games? Yeah. Get done. I have a PS5, so I'm in the midst of Kena Bridge of Spirits right now, which is very good, I have to say. It's probably short, I think, but I haven't played it too terribly much. I'm through like the 3rd boss or so. It's pretty good. So I'm playing Kena right now. I did on PS5, and I did it on PS4 too. I just redid the PS5 version of Ghost of Tsushima, which I still say to this day is my favorite game of the last year or whatever. So good. Yeah, Penny. That's Penny. She just hangs out. That's Penny. I did. Loved Miles Morales. Almost platinumed it. I have a couple things left to do. I always intend to go back and like platinum it, but like I'm like 95% done. The backstage pass. Yeah, the backstage pass is good. There's lots of good yo-yos, man. There's like they're just like it's all a flavor of life. My suggestion, if you're like into yo-yo collecting and you have time to like wander around and do stuff, is get a case, open it up, like put all your yo-yos in it and just wander around, play a yo-yo, pick up a new one, play that one, pick up a new, put that back, play a new one. Like just play different yo-yos all day and you'll have it'll be so fun. You'll have so much fun. Like I still do that. Like I've got like 4 yo-yos here on my desk. My cases are too full. Yeah, see, I feel like that's sort of a just like, well, we need to do something limited edition just to, let everybody know we're still here. But like we're having trouble with suppliers and with shipping and with all that stuff. So we need to do something limited. So that's like their limited thing because they haven't really done anything for this year, like nothing big. So that's their like kind of thing. I mean, I'm excited for them, but it's not going to be a thing that I do. Titanium freehand is sort of a very safe yo-yo to do. It'll certainly sell. I'm sure it'll be great. Like hands down, like Brian Jordan and Sean really do a nice job over there. They're really good dudes, and they really have like they're really like the best kind of yo-yoers at heart. So that's that. But anyway, anywho's guys, I appreciate you hanging out. I do. I appreciate you letting me test out the microphone. I'm gonna try to do these more because now I've got like a setup going, and like Kyle said, do this all the time. So I'm gonna try. If you guys can hit the like button, if you have not hit the like button, it'll help me out. So I very much appreciate it. But thank y'all so much. I will come back and do more of these soon. These are fun. I always forget to do them, but like I had some time tonight, so I figured I'd just do it. Yes, Brian Jordan is awesome. NFL Eagles 7-7 Cowboys. Adios, guys. Have a good night. Peace out. Cheers to you.
What's up, YouTube? So, thought we'd have a little discussion today. Like I said, we're back on the grind here. So today I wanted to talk about if I was only allowed to have 5 yo-yos for the rest of my life, what 5 yo-yos would those be? So, I thought about this, and I actually talked to my buddy Simply Mike about this because he had posed a similar question. I've tweaked my list by one. But, I don't know. I wanted to talk about it. But I need to know your input, too. Tell me down in the description, what are your top 5 yo-yos? Desert Island yo-yos. If you can only take 5 yo-yos to a desert island, what 5 would those be? Tell me down in the comments. But here's mine. So, I figured I'd kind of do try to be very broad within this spectrum. So the first one that I would take is a wooden one. Now this isn't, I would say my Desert Island plastic throw would be the G Squared Ghost. Now why the Ghost, you say? That's new to you. It's brand new. Well, yeah, but it's made out of Teflon, which means it grinds like I mean, it's not even like it grinds. It's a no-stick coating. Like this is the stuff that's in your frying pan. No stick. So, perfect grinds. Great thumb grinds, finger spins, because like I said, no stick. So nice for that. Plus just plays awesome and is super durable. So would be a great, if I can only have one more plastic for the rest of my life, this might be it. Because this thing's awesome. Make sure you grab a Ghost when they come out here later this month. Because killer yo-yo. I might buy a second. Maybe not this run. I'll let you guys get them. But maybe next time, I might buy a second. They're that good. Moving on. So now we're on to metal yo-yos. This one might surprise some people, but I kind of wanted to pick out an all-arounder. So like the yo-yo that could do all the stuff, anything I wanted it to do, I wanted to pick that yo-yo. This is my favorite all-arounder, and this is the CLYW Kayak. So why the Kayak? Well, because unlike a lot of all-arounders, the Kayak is super fun, super interesting to throw. I feel like a lot of all-arounders are kind of boring. Kayak is not boring at all. Super comfortable V-type shape with those nice curves and the
latest additions are their confusion about how to fund the government and raise the debt ceiling. For more than 2 months now, Senate Republicans have been completely clear about how this process will play out. So let me make it abundantly clear one more time. We will support a clean continuing resolution that will prevent a government shutdown, get disaster relief to Louisiana, help properly vetted Afghan refugees who put themselves on the line for America, and support the Iron Dome assistance for our ally, Israel. We will not provide Republican votes for raising the debt limit. As we speak, Democrats are behind closed doors assembling a multi-trillion-dollar reckless taxing and spending spree. There's no chance Republicans will help lift Democrats' credit limit so they can immediately steamroll through a socialist binge that will hurt families and help China. There's no particular tradition that the minority will always vote for debt limit hikes during united government. When Republicans had unified control in the early 2000s, then Senators Biden and Schumer voted no on a debt limit increase and made the party in power handle it on their own. Exactly the situation we're in now. The roles were reversed. Bipartisanship is not a light switch that Democrats get to flip on when they need to borrow money and switch off when they want to spend money. The debt suspension that expired in August covered all the debt that had been accumulated to that point. This is an argument about the future. Democrats want to use this temporary pandemic as a Trojan horse for permanent socialism. They've all but said so. And that is what millions and millions of Americans elected 50 Republican senators to fight against. For 10 weeks now, 10 weeks, Democrats have known what kind of government funding legislation could pass the Senate and what kind would fail. Republicans are not rooting for a shutdown or a debt limit breach. We've given the United Democratic government total clarity about how each can be avoided. Republicans have explained exactly what kind of continuing resolution can pass the Senate with our support. And late last week, the House Democratic leader publicly said House Democrats are ready to swallow whatever CR the Senate can send them. So the House is ready. Senate Republicans are ready. We could have a bipartisan vote to fund the government today, if not for the odd tactics of the Senate Democratic leader. Before we vote this afternoon, I'll ask consent to strike the partisan CR that is dead on arrival and instead have the Senate vote on a clean, continuing resolution that could pass this chamber easily. We'll see if Washington Democrats actually want to govern or whether they want to add the prospect of a government shutdown to the list of inflation, Afghanistan, the border, and all the other national crises that are the direct results of their own decisions.
We are,
I ask that we suspend the quorum call.
without objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I've noticed over the past few months that my Democratic colleagues have developed a habit of explaining away the anger of the citizens of this
Additions are their confusion about how to fund the government and raise the debt ceiling. For more than 2 months now, Senate Republicans have been completely clear about how this process will play out. So let me make it abundantly clear one more time. We will support a clean continuing resolution that will prevent a government shutdown, get disaster relief to Louisiana, help properly vetted Afghan refugees who put themselves on the line for America, and support the Iron Dome assistance.
The 7 kids are in Joe DiMaggio Hospital. 2 of them are in our ICU. Don't you think the mask would help those poor children?
Do you have any data to suggest that? Do you know if they were wearing masks?
I know they weren't vaccinated.
Well, they're not right. They're not eligible for the vaccination. I mean, that's not. I mean, you know, well, so you're blaming the kids, saying they weren't wearing masks and so they're in the ICU. With all due respect, I find that deplorable to blame a victim who ends up being hospitalized. You don't know their story. You don't know what happened with that. And this has been a really negative thing throughout this whole thing with some of these quote experts, some of the media. Somebody contracts a highly transmissible airborne virus, and they're viewed as having done something wrong. And that's just not the way you do it. When people come in, you treat them. You know, we obviously have some people that are not vaccinated that have been admitted to hospitals. Are you going to sit there? Are you going to sit there and criticize, or are we going to try to treat and try to help the folks? You know, I'm just sick of this judge. I'm sick of the judgmental stuff on some of this stuff. Nobody's trying to get ill here. Okay, it's a very there's people that were hermits for a year and a half that wore 6 masks and did that and still contracted it. Okay, so let's just be real here, and let's not indulge these things that somehow it's their fault for not doing it. So okay, we'll see you guys later. Thank you. It's great to be out here. I want to thank Art Laffer for inviting me. It's great to be with Alec. Did you not get the CDC's memo? I don't see you guys complying. And I say that jokingly, but I think that may be a sign of potentially seeking to do more things into the future. And I think it's very important that we say unequivocally no to lockdowns, no to school closures, no to restrictions, and no mandates. Floridians are free to choose, and all Americans should be free to choose how they govern their affairs, how they take care of themselves and our families, and they should not be consigned to live, regardless of which state in the union, consigned to live in a Faucian dystopia in which we're governed by the whims of bureaucratic authorities who care little for our freedom, little for our aspirations, and little for our happiness. No more. We can't let it happen going forward. And I think it's important to learn some of the lessons of what we saw over the past year and a half. There's a number of things I think we can look back on and point to different things that were just total catastrophes. I think a lot of these interventions, almost all of them, were totally ineffective, but they had catastrophic consequences for tens of millions of Americans. And to me, probably the most significant policy failure were the states that kept schools closed last school year. You had a situation where when the virus first hit, traditionally, when you talk about disease mitigation, people would look at schools as a place where it would really foster a lot of spread throughout the communities, and that's certainly true with influenza. So there was a lot of precautionary things done initially, distance learning, all this. But as the data started coming in, it was very clear by May of 2020 that not only were our school kids at virtually no risk from coronavirus, they were not efficient spreaders of it. And so schools, places that had schools open, did not see major outbreaks. And so my view was, we have got to have every parent in Florida, they have a right to send their kids to school in person, and we've got to make that happen. And so we had to do this last summer, and that was at the height of, you know, the Sun Belt has a summer COVID season, as we're seeing now. This was something that we were dealing with in Florida, and the hysteria was off the charts. You had people saying all this stuff. You can't send the kids to school. The teachers union actually sued me to keep the schools closed, and what they would do is they would actually bring coffins and put them in front of our Florida Department of Education building. So it was really, the data was very clear that this is something that should have happened, and obviously from a policy perspective, kids need to be in school, parents need to have an ability, particularly our single mothers. So it was evidence and facts and what was good policy and good for Floridians on one side versus basically hysteria, corporate media narrative, and a bunch of fear-mongering. And it was blindingly obvious that that was something we needed to do. So we did it. I remember when we first, some of our first school districts, when they first started the middle of August, you know, you had like these national corporate media come down there, go, oh my gosh, these yokels, what are they doing to the kids and all this other stuff. Fact is, it was good. People are very happy that happened. But just think about the millions of kids who got locked out of school for over a year in certain jurisdictions. So it seems to be like if you have certain God-given rights in the United States, but I guess the right to better yourself through education, if you happen to live in a real deep blue enclave controlled by the teachers union, that's just not something that you have opportunities to do, and we saw that. And I think those lockdowns of the kids and the closures for a year and a half, I think those are going to have consequences, not just months, years, but I think decades from now, you'll be able to trace back problems that emanated because kids totally fell off the radar and fell off the map. And so all it took was leadership. All it took was an ability to kind of go into the fray and fight back on behalf of students and families in Florida. And it was obviously the right thing to do. Fast forward now, and so in Florida, we never imposed mitigation. We didn't impose a mask mandate on anybody the whole time, but on schools, we didn't. You know, we said that school districts have to, do what they think is right. So the result was you had a difference of approaches throughout the state. We're a big, diverse state. That was fine. And I can tell you, regardless of the approach, for those school districts that did not have masks, or private schools or charter schools that didn't have masks, there was no statistically significant difference in the outcome versus the ones that did more intensive mitigation and made the kids wear masks. And so here we are now, and the CDC is saying every single person in a school needs to wear a mask all day, even if you're vaccinated, even if you've recovered from COVID, which, by the way, you are immune if you've recovered from COVID. CDC doesn't admit that, but it's true. And so in Florida, our view is this is a decision that the parents can make about what's best for their kids. If the parent really believes that would be better for their kid, I'm not going to prevent them from doing that if that's what they want. But that should not be imposed on all parents and all students, and it's not healthy for these students to be sitting there all day, 6-year-old kids in kindergarten, covered in masks. So this is going to be something where I think you're going to continue to have the unions and the CDC, and they're basically one and the same right now. They work in tandem, and they're going to be trying to do this. And I fear that they're trying to set up additional school closures because as the season changes, you'll start to see more, quote, COVID cases in northern places and areas where they have more of a foothold, and I think they're setting the stage to deny even more kids in education. So we can't let that happen. Now in Florida, we have robust school choice, so we didn't let that happen, but if it had happened, people would have been able to go elsewhere. And I think you're going to see more and more of that throughout the United States. We are going to probably have, by the time I'm up for re-election, we'll probably have between 200,000 and 250,000 students on various types of private school choice. We have a tax credit scholarship for low-income families. 100,000. I created a new scholarship with the help of Danny in the legislature. So we have a family empowerment scholarship now, which is likely going to probably hit 100,000 kids in a couple years. And then we've got scholarships for kids with special needs. And so you have a lot of folks, a lot of kids who have that. So we have huge amount of folks, and that doesn't even count all the public charter schools we have. We have hundreds of thousands of kids on charter schools. And if you look at a place like where Danny's from, Miami-Dade County, they're the highest performing urban school district in the country, and 70% of the students in Miami-Dade County do not go to their neighborhood school that they're, quote, zoned for. They either go on private scholarship somewhere, public charter somewhere, and then school choice within the school district as well. And I think the result has been students are in the best environment for them, and the performance speaks for itself. They're #1 in the country, so we're proud of them for that. So over the last year, Florida chose freedom over Fauciism. We continue to do that. That means having an economy that's open, protecting people's right to earn a living, making sure that people's livelihoods are intact. We were projected to be an economic basket case when COVID first hit, because people said, look, no one's going to go, tourism's going to dry up, you're going to have all these problems, whatever. And, I was resolved to make sure that while all these other states just continued to beat people down, lock them down, we would be lifting people up. And so we steadily got people to work. We got the economy going. And as we got into the summer of last year, you started to see it really pick up. And then pretty soon, Florida became the respite for people. Yeah, you have people moving down here, but it's not always easy to just move your whole life. But if people needed to escape lockdowns, they came and stayed in Florida for 2 or 3 weeks, and that just became the norm, and I'd run into people all the time doing that. So the result was our unemployment rate throughout the balance of the pandemic was significantly less than the national average, and almost half of what it was in some of the big-time lockdown states like California and New York and some of those. And that means huge for these families and for their livelihoods, and yes, for their health as well, because people are destitute, they lose their job, their health sinks too. So it's not just dollars and cents, it's about physical, mental health, and it's about the pursuit of happiness. So we're glad just this last month we added 70,000 additional private sector jobs, partially because we removed the additional unemployment payment and incentivized people to get back to work. I had 500,000 jobs open sitting there. And so we're going to continue to build off our success on the economy. We're not missing a beat. And our budget was projected to be a total disaster because, again, you're not having people come. We're sales tax driven. It's not like California where the tech companies pay all the tax. Like we do a lot of people based on tourism and whatnot. And so we were projected with a major hole. I vetoed $1 billion out of the budget, which was the most vetoes in the history of Florida to do that. So then we were in a situation where we had stabilized that, but then because of the health of the economy, we're bringing in more revenue, even with the lowest per capita tax burden in the country, because of the underlying incentives that we created for job growth, business, and all that. And so we got to the point where during the most recent legislative session, before the legislature did the budget, they did the estimate for the rest of the fiscal year, April, May, June, which is the rest of our fiscal year. And this is real-time estimate, and yet we were coming in $800 million above estimate for April, $500 million above for May, I think $700 million for June. So just in the last 3 months of the fiscal year, we took in $2 billion above estimate, and we have the healthiest reserves that we've ever had as a state. And throughout the entire COVID pandemic, I never touched 1 penny from the state's rainy day fund, and in fact, we've been able to add to the rainy day fund. So we're well positioned going forward. And that allows us to do things. We're a growing state. We got a lot of good stuff on infrastructure that we've had to do. We have stuff with our water resources as a coastal state, a boating state, fishing. Very important that we have clean water. So we're doing a lot of good stuff. But we would not have been able to do that had we just decided to lock down the state indefinitely, throw hundreds of thousands of people out of work, and ruin businesses up and down the state. We've done the opposite. I would say most of these folks, not only are they doing good, I mean, in all regions of the state, they'll say, we've never been doing this good ever about what's going on now in Florida. And I think the lesson from it is, and I go back and I look at Eisenhower's farewell address, when you think about how you handle something like COVID. Eisenhower, many remember because he pointed out the military-industrial complex. He's very smart about that. I mean, he was pretty much right on the money. But he also, in that speech, talked about the rise of scientific research intermingled with government funding and government institutions. And he recognized that as a danger. And I think, just as an aside, that's a big problem now, because when Fauci makes these pronouncements, people don't want to contradict him, even if he's wrong, because they fear that they won't get funding in the future. But what Eisenhower was worried about was, okay, you're going to have this, he called it a technological scientific elite, and he said you can't just let public policy be captive to some unelected group of people who are wielding a lot of this power through the research. And he's like, a statesman, yes, take into account what they say. And I'm thinking to myself, this is kind of like the Faucis of their time. You know, you can take into account, but you should actually have a diverse group of views just right there, because there was a lot of scientists who were right on a lot of this stuff while Fauci was flip-flopping. They got it right, and they were marginalized because they were challenging the narrative. But Eisenhower said, you got to look at all these other factors. And the job of the statesman is to harmonize that, and you can't just let one group of people hijack policy to the exclusion of every other consideration in society. And I think some of those states did that. They made this bizarre pursuit of having COVID disappear, which was never in the cards, was not going to happen, their goal, and they left a lot of destruction in their wake. And so I think you need to see the big picture. I think Eisenhower was right, and that's what we did in Florida, and that's what we're going to continue to do in Florida in the battles ahead. And so I thank you all for your involvement. I thank you for fighting on behalf of freedom. There's a lot of work to be done to defend federalism. We've tangled with the Biden administration on a number of occasions. We beat them in court on the CDC shutting down the cruise lines and forcing vaccine passports. And we're fighting them on the border and on some of the illegals, and we'll keep doing that because I think that there's going to be a lot of battles ahead. But the way it is right now in this country, when you stand for freedom, when you stand for those core values that make America unique, there's a lot of folks that are going to come after you. Corporate media will come after you and smear you. Big tech will likely try to censor you or deplatform, and I don't even need to talk about the bureaucracy and what's going on in Washington right now. So it requires people to have courage. When you're in this arena, understand when you're fighting, you got to be able to take a punch and stand strong. But when you do that, when you stand up for the people that sent you in your offices, and they see you fighting, and they see you fighting against the grain, man, they will be there for you thick and thin. They will walk over broken glass barefoot to be able to support you. So in Florida, we'll continue to stand firm. We'll be holding the line. We will not back down. And I can tell you this, we've only begun to fight. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thanks. It's great to be out here. I want to thank Art Laffer for inviting me. It's great to be with Alec. Did you not get the CDC's memo? I don't see you guys complying. And I say that jokingly, but I think that may be
milestone in Florida's continued development and utilization of space technology, and more specifically, another major step in the rapid advance of what I call a commercialization renaissance that is taking place in our industry, making space business more cost-effective and accessible for us all. Today, with this announcement, we celebrate anew that our community is the vanguard of the transformative wave of commercial space that is taking place in the world around us. And so now it is my great privilege to introduce our first speaker, who will formally announce both the company and their decision regarding their future operations here in Florida. We're honored to have Governor Ron DeSantis with us this morning, who for this audience needs no introduction. But it suffices to say that he has brought stellar, that's a space term, academic, military, and management credentials to the leadership of the state, as well as his energetic and principled service grounded in constitutional principles and protection of our liberties as citizens of Florida. Since his inauguration, he has moved pretty much at light speed, fighting to implement reforms and new initiatives affecting teacher bonuses, our education system, Everglades restoration, protection of our water resources, support of our veterans, and most critically, hurricane recovery in our state. He is a real champion for growth of our industry and the opportunities in it for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the 46th governor of the great state of Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to be in the Space Coast of Florida, which is the space capital of the world. And we appreciate what's going on here. And there's been remarkable progress over the particularly recent history. And today we have an even, in some respects, stellar announcement. We're excited to announce that Terran Orbital will be investing $300 million in the Space Coast by bringing its commercial spacecraft and constellation facility to Space Florida's launch and landing facility. This will be the largest satellite manufacturing facility in the entire world. The project's expected to create over 2,000 new jobs with an estimated annual wage of $84,000 by the fourth quarter of 2025. The new campus will enable complete satellite manufacturing from the smallest components to the final product. This will mean circuit boards and space vehicles. Satellite manufacturing is an important part of the economy here in the Space Coast, and this really ups the ante. In 2020 alone, 1,200 satellites were launched into space, triple the number of satellites launched in 2019. It's currently estimated that more than 50,000 satellites will be deployed by 2030. If those estimates hold up, we'll end up launching 4 times the number of satellites in the next decade than in the previous 6 decades combined. And so we're excited here with this move, and we know that this will have a hugely positive impact on this area. This builds off a lot of success that we've had here in the Space Coast in recent years. We've had a number of companies from Sierra Space to CAE to Redwire that have brought locations here to the state of Florida, and many, many more on top of that. And I think people know that Florida is a great environment for doing business. This particular is great in the Space Coast. We've got a lot of talented people in the industry, and we've really reached a critical mass. So I think companies realize that they're going to be able to hire good folks. We also, in our education system, have put a premium on preparing people for a variety of forms of employment, but particularly skills and vocational-based education. And as you do more manufacturing in places like the Space Coast, having those skills readily available, particularly as kids are graduating high school or state colleges, is really, really important. So we're going to continue to do that and continue to take the lead on space. But I want to thank Mark Bell for his decision to do this. And I don't think he's going to be disappointed. I think people are going to appreciate. Very few people that end up moving operations to Florida end up regretting it. Most of the time, people really like doing it. And over the last year and a half, we've seen a lot of different things. And I know some businesses told their employees in other states, look, you have a job here. I'm not even going to pay for you. They won't even pay to move if you want to go. And most of them come, and most of the employees don't regret it. And so I think that we're proud of that. We're proud of what we're doing statewide, but particularly in this this part of the state. I mean, this is really unique. These are unique opportunities, and I know Frank and his team have worked really hard, and we've seen a lot of tremendous progress. So let's just keep building off that. And today's announcement really is significant. I mean, when you talk about these satellites and what this is going to mean for the Space Coast. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited for this great announcement. And I'm also happy to be able to invite up our Lieutenant Governor, who's worked closely with Space Florida, up to make a few comments.
Good morning. Thank you, Governor DeSantis, for being here. It just shows the importance of what we're announcing today, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you all as well, the distinguished guests, our elected officials, our industry leaders. We appreciate you being here. I'd also like to thank Mark Bell of Terran Orbital and our Associate Director of Kennedy Space Center, Ms. Jennifer Coons, for being in attendance. Again, it just shows the importance of partnerships that we've established here with Space Florida. So as Lieutenant Governor and Chair of the Board of Space Florida, it is indeed so exciting to watch how the space industry has reached new heights, and pardon the pun, but certainly how we continue to define our role in space. Not just space travel and exploration, but as the Governor mentioned, manufacturing, training, readiness. Those are things that we have put a premium on. We have put a priority on making sure that we continue to expand in terms of other aspects related to the space industry. Terran Orbital brings nearly a decade of expertise in nano and microsatellite technologies to the Space Coast. And again, Governor DeSantis and I are committed to making sure that Florida is the world's premier aerospace location. Commercial space exploration here in Florida resulted in $1.5 billion in statewide investments, and Terran Orbital's partnership with the state further solidifies Florida's reputation as the place for space. We've expanded our capacity beyond rockets and launches, and while we are proud to be known as the space launch capital of the world, as I mentioned, we want to ensure that we are keeping with the times, that we're providing opportunities for our students here and throughout every corner of our great state. Our ecosystem continues to expand. As I mentioned, supply chain, manufacturing, logistics, all important resources to our state's economy, and in turn bringing thousands of high-quality, high-wage jobs. So again, I'm proud of the work our administration has done in this area. I'm proud of the work Space Florida has done. This has been a long time coming, as I mentioned to Mark, and so we're excited to see it come to fruition. It's a dynamic partnership, one that's going to continue to flourish and provide opportunities. And so we know that private industries have a choice when they seek to relocate and bring their business and conduct their business. And I assure you, you are going to be very happy you came to Florida, and we're going to continue to provide great opportunities for your employees and for all your related partnerships. So with that, on behalf of the Space Florida Board of Directors, I thank you, and I'd like to call Mr. Mark Bell up to the stage. I understand that you have a pretty unique, successful life, not just in space and business, but I'll let you tout your credentials as a Tony Award winner. Thank you all again very much.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, Governor DeSantis, Lieutenant Governor Nunes. Thank you for giving us time today for such a great announcement. I'd also like to thank Representative Thad Altman, Representative Tyler Sirius, Senator Tom Wright, and Linda Weatherman for being here today with us. Today marks a major milestone for Terran Orbital, and for me personally, as a Florida resident, I am thrilled to be writing the next chapter of our company's history right here in my home state. There is no better place I could think of if you had $300 million to invest than investing it right here in the great state of Florida. And at the risk of oversimplifying The history of space exploration began with huge teams of scientists and engineers building massive space vehicles in which the majority of the effort went into the spacecraft themselves and the vehicles that launched them. These early satellites were large, heavy, expensive to launch, with less computing power than the phone you carry today. That all changed in 1999 when Dr. Jordi Puig-Suari and Bob Twiggs invented the CubeSat, a satellite with computing power of a personal computer that could fit in the palm of your hand. In 2011, Dr. Puig-Suari co-founded TIVAC to focus on commercial applications of nanosatellites. And in 2013, our company, Terran Orbital, acquired TIVAC, creating the world's most innovative satellite company. This satellite became the universally accepted standard for nanosatellites and started the low Earth satellite revolution that we're all going through today. This actual CubeSat will be the very first that we built. We'll be heading to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. shortly to be put on permanent display. And I invite all of you after to take a selfie with the satellite if you choose. Today, Terran Orbital is the global leader in satellite solutions. We design, we engineer, we manufacture, and we operate satellites for a broad range of customers, helping them leverage space for their commercial challenges and national security needs. To be fair, you've probably never heard of us till today, and that's okay. We're currently listed on billions of dollars of U.S. government programs and growing at an incredible rate. For us, Space Florida is a perfect place to tell the world who we are and why we're going to continue to dominate the small satellite marketplace. The commercially driven space industry continues to grow at an incredibly rapid rate, which requires us to significantly expand our capabilities. I am proud to focus our expansion plans here at Space Florida's launch and landing facility right over at Cape Canaveral. We will be building the world's most extensive satellite assembly facility. Phase 1 alone will be over 660,000 square feet of space. We will bring all aspects of satellite creation, manufacturing, production into one place. We will be able to produce over 1,000 satellites a year here and over 1 million satellite components annually, all at the single location here. We will continue to vertically integrate in order to control our own destiny. We will own our own supply chain, and we will continue to add other companies to our portfolio to enhance products that we make for the future. This facility will represent one of the most advanced satellite manufacturing complexes in the world, serving the civil, commercial, and government needs. But we will not only build satellites for our customers, but we will also start building them for ourselves. Our first satellite constellation will be called Predasar. It will be the world's most advanced, software-defined, synthetic aperture radar constellation. There'll be a quiz on that later. Ever notice if you look at Google Earth or Google Maps, you notice you always see the planet on a clear sunny day? It's because traditional imaging can't see through the clouds and can't see at night. With Predasar, you'll be able to take images of the Earth 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's a technological breakthrough which will radically change how we look at our amazing planet. And we have a short video here. I don't know if you can see it, if you'll be able to see it. We're going to try it to kind of explain what Predasar is and what SAR is, to put it in layman's terms.
Under the cover of darkness, aggressors are preparing to launch attacks on military targets and civilian populations across the globe. To stop them, friendly forces need to detect and react within a matter of hours, even minutes. On a barrier reef, an oil tanker crashes and spills millions of barrels of oil into the ecosystem. Time is critical to prevent the spread and begin cleanup. Massive wildfires are moving quickly, trapping hikers and campers. Rescuers need the visibility to see through thick layers of smoke to locate those trapped. A devastating hurricane makes landfall in the night, flooding homes, washing away streets, and stranding thousands. Timing is critical, and first responders need immediate insights into which areas need help first to save lives. In perilous situations where life and valuable resources are on the line, the need for real-time data and visibility is critical. Unfortunately, there are no existing solutions to adequately meet these demands. Physical access to these areas from aircraft is often impossible. Visibility negative. Traditional satellites can take days or weeks to get clear pictures from space, limited to daylight and perfect weather. When answers are needed quickly, there needs to be a different solution. That's where Predasar comes in. Predasar is deploying the world's largest fleet of radar satellites, traveling around the Earth closely and quickly in low Earth orbit. These satellites use a technology called synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, to see anywhere on Earth in minutes. SAR is a technology that uses radar to transmit radio waves to Earth and listens for those waves to bounce back. Predasar then uses SAR technology to form those waves into pictures, videos, and 3D models of objects. Where traditional imaging satellites need the sun's light to capture images, Predasar uses radar to make its own light at any time of day, seen through clouds, weather, and smoke. For decades, this technology was almost exclusively used by governments. But advances in technologies and more affordable access to space have opened the doors for a wide range of global commercial opportunities. With Predasar, we can see anywhere in the world in a matter of minutes. No obstructions, no delays. First responders can pinpoint where help is needed the most. Insurance companies can assess where large-scale damage is most severe. And the military can have unparalleled insight into every move the enemy makes, day or night. Neutralized. With lives and precious resources on the line, the world can no longer afford to stay in the dark. Predasar will be there when the world needs it the most.
All right, who here has their vaccine passport?
No, sorry.
No one, eh? Right on. People here are practicing their rights. Right on. And we walked in with the group of police and they did nothing because they know that we are in the right. They know that this is tyranny, these Nazi passports. Today's big question here in Canada is, was there voter fraud in the federal election? Well, first off, we're going to take a look at what has happened behind the scenes. I'm just going to give some examples of what happened. There's a lot of things that happened. In some polling stations in Edmonton, you can only vote for the Liberal Party, the Conservative Party, or the Green Party. What about the other parties? If you wanted to vote for PPC, you couldn't do it. Some people, they wanted to vote and they could not vote. The scrutineers would say, sorry, you've already voted. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Exactly. It happened in the US and it happened here in Canada. How is it that PPC didn't win any seats? Most of the people that I've talked to have voted for PPC. And I've talked to people that I don't even know, and they said the same thing. And how is it that all across the country there are PPC rallies all over? And with the Liberals, there is hardly anybody that would show up. There was actually more people that would oppose the Liberals and basically show how angry they were towards Trudeau. This reminds me so much of the American election, where Biden would go to his rally, there was hardly anybody there. You would go to a Trump rally, it would be full of people. And there has been a purple wave across the country. I've seen it in countless videos. I went to the French and English debate. Well, I was outside of the building at the Canadian Museum of History. It used to be called the Canadian Museum of Civilization. They changed the name. And so, especially during the English rally, it was quite big, the PPC crowd, compared to the other parties. So, ask yourself, if there was rallies across the country, we had the most people in them, how is it that we got 0 seats? That's something we have to ask ourselves. And we've seen it across the country, of how many people who are angry with the things that Trudeau has done over the years. But thank God that there are people that are helping us, fighting this tyranny. We have, for example, Rebel News, Fight the Fines, helping people fight their tickets in court. And it's all thrown out of court. Why? Because it goes against our constitutional rights. Now, as far as the COVID restrictions, it's our body, our choice. If we want to get vaccinated, that should be our choice. If we don't want to get vaccinated, that's our choice, what we put into our bodies. Same thing for masks. If you feel safe wearing a mask, by all means wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, that should be your choice, not the government's choice. So, I don't think that we should comply to these restrictions because it goes against the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This has been going on way too long. All of Canada needs to wake up. And a lot of Canadians have woken up. So, communism is here. We have Trudeau in power. But doesn't mean we can't fight. So my message is, fight for your freedom. So please write in the comments below stories that will show that there was evidence of voter fraud. And, you know, if all of this information gets gathered and brought forth to a judge, there's a lot of scrutineers out there with this evidence, and if it's brought forth to a judge who is honest, you know, there's a chance in court. And if it happens like in the U.S. where the judge just doesn't want to see the evidence, well, we're just going to have to fight even harder. So the battle is not over. My message is just keep fighting. Fight for your freedom.
I'd like to now yield to the whip of the minority team and from the great state of Louisiana, Mr. Steve Scalise.
I want to thank my friend from Pennsylvania, Dr. Joyce, for yielding and for leading this effort to defend American energy. And Madam Speaker, you might wonder, why are we on the House floor defending American energy? Who could possibly in the United States Congress be opposed to American energy? Unfortunately, as we've seen this year, from President Biden to Speaker Pelosi to this whole Democrat majority, they have had an all-out assault on American energy. It started day one when President Biden took the oath of office. That day, he drove down Pennsylvania Avenue and he started signing executive orders to destroy America's energy independence. Started with the Keystone Pipeline. Here was a great relationship between the United States and our great friend Canada, our neighbor from the north. A pipeline to bring energy to America where it could be refined in a really good environmentally protective way in the United States of America, but President Biden said no. Now, you would think he said no because he's just against pipelines in general, except just weeks later, President Biden green-lighted a pipeline in Russia, from Russia to Germany. So President Biden was against American energy jobs and American pipelines, but he was okay with helping Russia, giving a gift to Russia. And he kept going on and on, put a moratorium on drilling in the United States, but then just weeks ago tried to ban not only American energy, but then he goes and he begs OPEC and Russia to produce more oil. You can't make this stuff up. If American energy is so bad, why are you begging OPEC and Russia to produce fossil fuels? They're either good or they're bad. The question here, Madam Speaker, is where should energy be made? If you look at this whole global warming Green New Deal push by the president to increase taxes on Americans, you wonder why Americans are paying 40% more for gasoline at the pump? It's because of President Biden's assault on American energy. But he's given OPEC a free pass. In fact, he's giving OPEC more leverage by cutting off our supply and letting them increase their supply. Now, you might think Russia or Saudi Arabia or China came up with this crazy strategy. No, it was President Biden and Speaker Pelosi in a Democrat Congress that came up with this. And you're seeing it in their tax proposal, this crazy $5.5 trillion massive tax and spend proposal we're going to see come to play this week on the House floor. More assaults on American energy. And who pays? I'll tell you who pays. The American consumer, families, hard-working families. In fact, the people hit the hardest are the lowest income people. Remember when President Biden promised if you make less than $400,000, you won't pay a dime in new taxes? Sounded great, except he's already pledging to break that promise by increasing taxes on, among many other things, natural gas. That's right, if you use natural gas to heat your home or cool your home, you're going to pay more, double digits more, every single month under President Biden's plan. That's right, he broke that promise. And then if you look at all of his other assaults on American energy, if it was all about carbon emissions and saving the planet, well, guess what? Those foreign countries that we were talking about, whether it's Russia, OPEC nations, they emit more carbon to make the same oil. To produce oil emits carbon. In America, we actually do it better than anywhere else in the world. If you want to reduce carbon emissions, make more of it here in America, not less. Why would you want to give a gift to countries who don't have the same standards we have? Too often you see liberals on the other side wanting to bash America every single day. You know, hit America, attack America. Enough is enough. People are figuring this out. They're paying more at the pump. They're paying more at the grocery store. They're paying more for everything because of these radical assaults on American energy, on American entrepreneurialism. Free market capitalism is under assault by big government socialism. That's what this fight is about. We're going to continue to stand up for American energy and to get the facts out about if you're going to make stuff anywhere in the world, you want to produce steel, make it in America, because if you make it in China or India or some other country, they emit 5 times more carbon. And yet, what President Biden is doing in his policies is attacking that very American energy that works to create great jobs here at home, to rebuild our middle class, to help those hardworking families who are sick and tired of paying more, and stop giving gifts to foreign countries like China. With that, again, I thank my colleague from Pennsylvania for his leadership, and I yield back to him.
I thank the whip for his concise discussion about the assault on American energy and how that affects the working class communities throughout the United States. I would now like to yield to my
and turn to the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start with a question for each of the 5 witnesses. In your judgment,